If you clicked on this video expecting intricate, amazing, in-depth analysis of one person's Doctor Who collection, then you're not going to get that here. This video is simply just Doctor Who DVDs and Blu-rays and a few CDs that I have gotten over the 18 years of my life, either given to me or bought by yours truly. Anyway, because I know you're already bored of the video, I'll just get into it. Where better than to start than with William Hartnell, the first Doctor. I mean, I'll go through them chronologically with some extra things in between and at the end. Obviously, to start the collection is the beginning DVD box set. This obviously includes An Unearthly Child, The Daleks, and The Edge of Destruction. So inside are the DVDs. You got 3 DVDs. I'm actually convinced that the DVD cases were replaced at some point because these are, compared to all the other ones, these are much flimsier and transparent cases, not the grey ones like the rest of them here. So because I got these like second hand, I'm pretty sure on like eBay, I expect the cases were changed out. I have seen all 3 of these stories, which is actually a surprise given I haven't seen most of my collection. I'm actually quite a fan of the design on the front of them, and there are some actually quite interesting documentaries on here, especially on The Edge of Destruction. You've got stuff like Doctor Who Origins and Inside the Spaceship and Masters of Sound, 3 really interesting documentaries. Next, chronologically, we have the Aztecs Special Edition. I got this because I actually have a bit of a series idea that I can't really go into yet. I'm also looking to get the Keys of Marinus and the Sensorites. I actually really enjoy the Keys of Marinus, so I definitely want to add that to the collection. I'm actually kind of hesitant to buy any more DVDs given the collection box sets coming out, but when it comes to William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton, I'm not sure how long it's going to be until we actually get those ones. Next up is The Reign of Terror. Now, if you know my channel, you know that I did a video on this, specifically the animation, so I had to get this for the series, obviously. Again, an animation that I'm really not a fan of. It's probably my least favourite animation, and I'll probably do a video going through my favourite and least favourite animations that they've done. Definitely the weakest link out of all of them. Next, we have what used to be the only story that I had of William Hartnell in my collection, The Dalek Invasion of Earth. And it actually took me a long time to realise that the Peter Cushing films were based off this and the Daleks. Like, it took me a very long time. But overall, I mean, it could have been shorter, but I am quite a fan of this story. Next up, we have The War Machines, the first story in my collection, which I have not actually watched. I bought this recently. I honestly don't really know anything about it. I know that, is it Ben and Polly? Did they join in this story? I think so. I have no idea what it's about. I assume it's about robots. To close off the William Hartnell collection, we have The 10th Planet, a fantastic story that introduced both the Cybermen and the concept of regeneration. Obviously, I got this when I was doing the animation series, and I 100% believe that this is a massively underrated animation. The Part 4 animation on here is possibly the best black and white animation that we have. Next up, we have Patrick Troughton, the second Doctor, which I think actually looks like here I have more of Patrick Troughton in animated form than I do actually live action. Obviously, to start off the collection, I have The Power of the Daleks Special Edition. I do in fact have the 2016 animation on DVD because the Steelbook is ridiculously expensive at the moment. I'm definitely looking to get the Blu-rays in the Steelbook simply because they'll be HD, and obviously in the Steelbook of this 2016 animation you have the colour version, which would have been very helpful for my video, but instead I had to use this, which, by the way, the design on this DVD and also this one are fantastic. Obviously there is a lot of behind the scenes going on between these two animations, which is why there was a special edition, like they completely redid it. If you don't know about that, please go check out my video that I did on it. Next up for Troughton, we have The Moon Base, again another story I got at the same time as The 10th Planet in order to do the animation on it. For the most part, I think people think that the animation for the moon base is better. I actually disagree. I think the animation for the 10th planet is better. I think it was maybe more stylistic. I don't know. That's all subjective. Personally, the story though, people really do praise the story, but I'm not a massive fan of the story itself. The animation is pretty good. The story, not so much. Fortunately, it is only 4 parts, so it's got that going for it, because I'm not a fan of a lot of stories that are over 4 parts. However, the Macra Terror, without its sleeve, because I bought it again secondhand on eBay. I think there was a sleeve with this one anyway. A great, fantastic story, easily the best animation of them all. Obviously, I bought this for the animation series, and I am extremely happy I did. Next up we have the Faceless ones, the most recent in terms of recording this at the moment. This is the most recent one that I've done on the channel. Again, a slight downgrade from the Macra Terror, but again, overall it's still a pretty good story and animation. I am quite a fan of it, and obviously Ben and Polly's departure is pretty sad, if you liked them, which I'm not a massive fan of. Jamie, on the other hand, what an absolute G. Next up, we have The Tomb of the Cybermen, an absolute cult classic, and one that I've never seen before. This is actually not the special edition, because I bought this year, not knowing that there was a special edition, which is a definite shame. This was like a really old one from 2002, which is why they released a special edition. I'm glad I've got it in my collection so I can watch it, but I'm not sure why I didn't quickly realise that there is a special edition. Next up, The Ice Warriors, another underappreciated animation in my opinion. I think this has got the proper groundworks that built up Doctor Who animation, the missing episode animations as we know it. The story itself is the pretty common Base Under Siege story, but you know, they can do it well. Like Power of the Daleks, a story I enjoy massively, is in essence a Base Under Siege story, but you know, it has a kind of pizzazz to it. Next up we have The Web of Fear, easily the best cover for a story, which is ironic because a lot of people would definitely consider this to be the weakest animation. I'm currently scripting the video for this animation. You can tell that there was a lot of effort put into it, but this was Shapeshifter Studios' first try at 3D animation. It was interesting to see that BBC Studios and Big Finish would go to a studio that has never actually properly done 3D animation before. Again, I've not actually seen this story. I'm sure I will at some point, because Yeti and the Brigadier and all that cool stuff. Next up is Fury from the Deep. This video is actually going out tomorrow as I record this. Another underappreciated animation in my opinion. I think people are quick to dismiss this animation after the Macra Terror and the Faceless ones. And for some reason people enjoy it a lot when those people open their mouths really wide, even though I think it looks really stupid. I'm not sure whether this one had a cardboard sleeve or not when it was released. Mine doesn't have one because most of my stuff is secondhand on eBay. Next up is The Mind Robber. This is probably the first Troughton story that I saw and the first one that I owned. It was this and these next two that I had as my only Troughton stories for a long time. I have no recollection of what goes on in this story, absolutely none. The cover looks really cool, but I do not remember for the life of me what is in this story. Up next is The Invasion. Now, if I didn't have this DVD in my collection, I have no idea whether or not I would have started the animation series. This was, I believe, the only animation I had in my collection when I started, so I had to buy all the ones after it, I think. If it weren't for this being in my collection, God knows what I would be doing at this moment in time. The animation is surprisingly good for something done in 2006, but the story itself is not my favourite. It's okay, but the Cybermen don't appear until, like the end of episode 4, which is over halfway through the story, and then they barely appear in episode 5 and 6. The Seeds of Death, the final Troughton story in my collection. I do intend on getting the War Games, as well as like the Enemy of the World, because I feel like they're quite necessary things to have in your collection. I watched this last year and yeah, it was quite boring, but I did actually finish it, which is a surprise. Actually, now that I think about this, I think there might be a special edition, although I'm not sure on that one. I think this is a good point after the Troughton and Hartnell DVDs to whack out Lost in Time. It's quite outdated because it's got stuff like The Web of Fear and Evil of the Daleks and The Faceless Ones and The Moonbase, things that have had their own releases and animations. But it's another necessary addition to one's collection. I think there was a slim version of this at some point, but I do not have it. Also a good point, I think, is to whack out the Dalek collection, a DVD I've had for ages. This is obviously the two Peter Cushing films. I do intend on getting these on Blu-ray at some point, which actually brings me on to a question I have. For those of you who don't know, I don't have the money to buy all these Blu-rays and DVDs, so if you want to support this channel, feel free to go down in the description and buy something from the Amazon wish list. Now, I don't expect anyone to do that, but everything on that Amazon wish list is either necessary or would really help in the production of many videos down the line, such as the 2 Blu-rays for this. Obviously, I think the Blu-rays have more for special features, and obviously they're in HD, so it's just a better watching experience, and I don't think I would make a video on the 2 Peter Cushing films if I only had this DVD. Now we're off into the world of colour with Jon Pertwee. To start this off, we have Spearhead from Space. Surprisingly good story, actually. Obviously, it's great to see it in HD because it was all done on, I think, what is it, film? I always get film and all that stuff mixed up, but yeah, all of it was filmed on film. Unless I'm wrong, then it wasn't all filmed on film. I don't really have much to say about this. It's a pretty good story that I got a few years ago for my collection. Probably the first Blu-ray I got for my classic Doctor Who collection. Next up we have Doctor Who and the Silurians, which came with the Sea Devils and Warriors from the Deep, Warriors of one of those. We'll get to it later. Again, another actually really good story. I'm a fan of the Silurians in this. They definitely ruined the Silurians in modern Doctor Who, but this, you can always go back to this and watch this one, and it's a really fun story, and you've got Bessie in it, and you've got Jon Pertwee. What is not to love? Next up we have the Sea Devils. I think an often overlooked story, but I mean, maybe not, because it's got the Master in it, and who doesn't love Roger Delgado as the Master? I am a massive fan of this story. I do remember when I was younger, I watched this story probably the most out of all the Third Doctor stories. I probably watched this one the most. Next up is the Three Doctors, a story I actually think I watched a surprisingly little amount of. It's got weird blobby ball creatures, but it's great to see William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton return for this story. Obviously, William Hartnell was extremely ill, like even filming his Doctor Who, so the fact that he came back for this, even if you can tell that he's reading off a cardboard sheet in front of him or whatever he was reading off of, it's great to see him back. The Time Warrior, another story I recall watching quite a lot when I was younger. I'm quite a big fan of the Sontarans, especially in New Who. They're amazing, and in Sarah Jane Adventures. For some reason, the Sontarans are really cool. This is the first story with Sarah Jane, I think. Again, a lot of these stories I haven't watched in a very, 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 very long time. To round off the Jon Pertwee collection, we have Death to the Daleks, a story I think I've only watched once or twice, and it was years ago, so I have very little recollection of it, but I think I enjoyed this story. Again, I do want to get Planet of the Spiders at some point, but presumably season 11... Has season 11 gotten a collection release? I don't think it has, but I will definitely pick it up when it comes into release time. Next up is the man himself, Tom Baker, and by sheer size, the Fourth Doctor looks like I have the most stuff to do with him. Starting off the Tom Baker collection is the season 12 collection box set. This is the standard packaging. As you can see, I've also got the standard season 18 one. I was quite late to the collection range, so already like 2-3 years later, these box sets were already going for like 80-90 quid. I'm not particularly bothered about what this looks like, what the actual box looks like. In fact, I'm actually quite a fan of how the standard edition box sets look. The only thing I have to note, the booklet that you get is condensed. It's smaller, and it includes much less information than the limited edition box sets, which is a very big shame. Basically, what I'm saying is, if you have a limited edition box set and you have the booklet, which I assume you would, then if you could scan it or send photos of all the pages, I'd be eternally grateful, because these booklets are extremely useful when it comes to making videos. They include basically lots of information that is very interesting, and to not have the larger booklets for my videos would then just make the videos worse. So if you want to message me on Twitter or email me, then feel free. I will likely respond to you. Also, season 12 itself does have my favourite classic Doctor Who story, that being Genesis of the Daleks. I had the DVD of Genesis of the Daleks for years. This is easily my most watched classic Doctor Who episode. It's even got a massive gash down the back of it. I have no idea how that happened. Something about this story was just so interesting to my 10-year-old mind that I just watched it over and over and over and over and over again. Without a doubt, the best 6-part story. And I've heard some really good things of the Dalek Tapes documentary on here, which is actually not on the season 12 Blu-ray. So I'll definitely have to watch that at some point in the future. Next up, we have Pyramids of Mars. I think a lot of people really like this story, and I definitely watched it quite a lot when I was younger. It's been a very, very long time, but I do recall liking it a lot. Oh look, it's a U. You don't get a lot of U's. Next up, we have The Brain of Morbius. Obviously quite important now that they've made those faces canon. Again, a story that I actually really like. A lot of people say that they actually don't like it, but a lot of people say they do like it, and that's one of me. I'm one of those people. I mean, anything with Sarah Jane in it, I'll watch it, except The Hand of Fear. People really love The Hand of Fear, but actually, it's not good. It's not. The Deadly Assassin, again, a fantastic Tom Baker story. You got the Crispy Master, you've got the Time Lords. What is not to love? I definitely watched this a large amount. Next up, we have The Robots of Death, not special edition or not the re-release. I think this was the second DVD release after the 5 Doctors, which we'll get to later. A story that I think is really good. Again, this is similar to The Power of the Daleks in that it's based Under Siege, but from the inside out, which is definitely a really interesting concept. Check out this story if you haven't already. I think not a lot of people talk about The Robots of Death, and I think that's rude. The Key to Time, the first series that I owned in full, simply because, look at it, it's all in one box set, and this was the first time we just got all of them in a box until the collection box sets, and the Trial of a Time Lord. I forgot about that. Did we get this? This was before the Trial of a Time Lord, I think. Out of all the seasons of classic Doctor Who, this is probably my favourite one. All the stories in here are great in their own way, except 2 of them. The Stones of Blood and The Power of Kroll never did it for me, especially the Stones of Blood. What was going on in this story? Yeah, it's a pretty good series, but I generally do just skip over. Actually, I usually watch the Stones of Blood because it's a good laugh, and there is a nice side character in there, I think. I maybe, is it Professor Amelia Rumford? She's nice. I do really enjoy the Reboss Operation, and the Androids of Tara, probably my favourite story in this box set. And just the whole story in general is really interesting to me. Destiny of the Daleks. It's really hard to tell what everyone likes and what people don't like in the Doctor Who community, because you always get loads of differing opinions, but I like Destiny of the Daleks. The first episode of season 17 is it, which we're getting a collection box set of, which I'll definitely have to pick up for Shada related reasons. Although at this moment we actually don't know if we're getting the season 17 box set, but it was leaked on that Swiss DVD website, so we assume that we are. Maybe by the time this video goes up we already know. I really like the Movellans. Davros is great. I love Lalla Ward. Obviously, it's quite similar to the Daleks, the first Dalek story, but I like this one more. City of Death. People absolutely go mad for this story. I haven't watched it in years. Obviously, they got to go to, they went to Paris, which is pretty cool. It's got weird spaghetti face man, but it is Lalla Ward and Tom Baker. Those 2 together. I'm not sure whether I would say that they are the best 2 together. There is Sarah Jane and Tom Baker, and there's obviously Ace, but They are definitely a strong duo. Again, I don't really have any recollection of what this story's kind of about. I know it got the highest viewing figures of all of Classic Who, and I think all of Doctor Who in general. But also that is because I'm pretty sure ITV and whatever wasn't actually on at the time, so this was literally the only thing you could watch. Next up, we have Sharda, the intended final story of season 17, and I started watching this for the animation video, and I do like it. I did have the DVD before realising there was a Blu-ray, which I have done quite a lot with like films in general. I bought the DVD without realising there was a Blu-ray, but obviously I just got the Blu-ray for the up in quality. I believe they've got the same stuff on them. This and Power of the Daleks are two steelbooks that I do hopefully intend on getting of Classic Who, because obviously the Power of the Daleks has the colour version on it and it's in HD, and the steelbook of this has the Big Finish animation. Now I do know that in the Sharda DVD, which I have somewhere, so I'll get this over with now, in the Legacy collection that comes with More Than 30 Years in the TARDIS, a documentary which I still have not seen. The DVD does have it on here, but it's accessible via Flash, which for those who don't know is not a thing anymore. So there is no real way of me watching it, or at least like getting the files off the DVD. I could probably, there are third-party softwares, but I would like want the actual raw file for a video to make on it. More Than 30 Years in the TARDIS is just, obviously it's got loads of documentaries on here and the actual main one. Because we know we're getting a season 17 release maybe, we might get the Big Finish animation, which I really hope we do. Finally, in terms of Tom Baker, we have the season 18 collection box set. This was the third collection box set I got. Honestly, I mostly got this for K9 and Company, which says a lot about the money that I'm willing to spend just for K9 and Company. I've actually not watched anything else on season 18 except K9 and Company, which obviously isn't actually part of season 18, but they whacked it on here because they're cool people. The season 12 collection I've watched all of them actually. For Peter Davison, the 5th Doctor, I will actually start with the New Beginning box set, which I bought for £3, and I was like, whoa, that's really cool, but I realised now it's completely useless because I have the season 18 and the season 19 collection box sets. So obviously to start off, we have the season 19 collection, probably my favourite design, and it works really well with the standard edition like stuff because it's blue and it all just kind of works together, and you open it up and it looks really nice. Although it should not be to your surprise that I have actually not watched any of these stories. I have a lot of catching up to do. In fact, I probably know nothing about Classic Who except when it comes to animations. The videos I make actually teach me a lot of things. I basically knew nothing about like the Power of the Daleks like re-release and all that kind of stuff until I was making the videos on it. So that's why I kind of want an excuse to make videos on these kind of things so I can watch them and learn all these amazing things and watch the extensive studio recording tapes and look at the behind the sofa stuff, which I really want to watch because I feel like I'll actually take a lot more in if I watch it and then make a video on it. I think that'll be really cool. But yes, season 19, yes, very cool. I don't have the season 10 collection box set yet of the standard releases because for some reason at the standard releases that one's the most expensive. I'm not entirely sure why, but I'll definitely get it at some point. The Black Guardian trilogy, I haven't watched this in donkey's years, but I recall it being okay. Mordred Undead I think I enjoyed, but I have absolutely no recollection of what goes on in Terminus and Enlightenment. What happens? Absolutely no idea. And I know that this has actually been in one of the ones that has been in my collection for over 10 years. The 5 Doctors 25th Anniversary Edition. I think this is definitely my most watched 5th Doctor story. I think this DVD looks pretty cool with the yellow text. That's quite fun. It's just exactly what you want from an anniversary Doctor Who special. I know that the 5 Doctors was actually the first one to be released on DVD, not this one specifically, but this one with really cool front. Not a very cool back, but a really cool front actually. Interestingly, this has got a U rating, but this one's got a PG rating, so I'm not sure what that's about, but this is definitely really, really cool to have both of them. I only got this because it was like really cheap on eBay, which is generally why I got a lot of my DVDs. Next up we have Warriors of the Deep. I've actually forgotten what this is about. I know it's about Silurians, but I've kind of forgotten. Again, I haven't watched this in a very, very long time, and I don't recall even enjoying it. Resurrection of the Daleks, the only 5th Doctor Dalek story I have. Upon further inspection, it's the the only 5th Doctor Dalek story if we're not counting the 5 Doctors. I recall liking this one actually. It is okay. Sam gives it a okay rating. The Caves of Androzani, again, not special edition, just because I got these ages ago and I don't even think the special editions were a thing. Absolutely amazing, amazing story. In fact, now that I think about it, this might be my favourite 5th Doctor story. The 5 Doctors isn't particularly a 5th Doctor story, it's an everyone story. Anyway, it's a fantastic story and watch it if you haven't already. For Colin Baker, we start off with Attack of the Cybermen. I think I actually really enjoy this one. It's got that cool stuff with the chameleon circuit. That's actually about it. It's got those weird bubble wrap people. Now that I think about it, this is not a good story. I don't have a lot of Colin Baker stuff. And, you know, that's not his fault. Vengeance on Varos, non-special edition or non-re-release. I don't particularly understand the praise for this. Not in the same way that I don't understand the praise for the Talons of Weng Chiang, which I feel like now is not the right time to talk about that. But this is just, yeah. People love this story. I think, when I say people love this story, I get mixed reviews everywhere, but I don't particularly remember enjoying this story that much. The Mark of the Rani, I remember not enjoying this one. Was this the one with the minecart thing? Was this the first Rani story? I don't like the Rani. I'm giving it off a lot of negative opinions, so I'm expecting a lot of dislikes in the comments, okay? Dislikes in the comments? That doesn't make sense. Just give this video a dislike, please. You know, it helps the algorithm either way. My camera actually just cut off while I was talking about Colin Baker and the 2 Doctors. Basically, I was talking about how the 2 Doctors is interesting, but it's a bit odd, and they don't get to see each other a lot. The Tom Baker, Petra Troughton and Colin Baker, and bushy eyebrow guy and Sontarans are cool. I said Revelation of the Daleks and 2 Doctors are my most watched Colin Baker stories, but the radio guy, bloody amazing. I love the radio guy in this. He's just really great. Time in the Rani is interesting. I don't like Mel, and I haven't seen Colin Baker with Mel because I don't have a Trial of a Time Lord collection box set yet, because they just recently said that that's coming to standard packaging for the collection. So fortunately, I will be able to get it, and I really do want to make a video about it. Well, technically it's about it, but you'll see. Anyway, I don't like Mel. Remembrance of the Daleks, not the re-release special edition. Either way, it's still a fantastic story. This is just fantastic. I literally have no words. The Imperial Daleks, the Renegade Daleks is just so cool. I think that this is universally loved. Like, no one dislikes Remembrance of the Daleks, and if you do, that's a valid opinion. You can dislike it if you want. The Curse of Fenric. The Curse of Fenric I literally have no recollection of. What happens in this? There's like a cool explosion, isn't there? I do like Ace. I'm a fan of Ace, but I'm more of a fan of Ace in Remembrance of the Daleks. I literally have zero recollection of this. What is this story about? Survival. Here we go. The final story of Doctor Who, classic Doctor Who, unless you count the 8th Doctor, obviously. I genuinely found this story unwatchable. I think it was the acting and the cheetah people. I think it was just too much for me. I know that people love this story, but you know, we gotta respect people's opinions here, but I can respect it, but it's not for me. Obviously, I've mentioned the Legacy collection, which I feel like would fit quite well here, but to round off Classic Who, I will include the movie Blu-ray. I recently swapped this out from the DVD, because obviously this is HD, although it's a shame that they can't find the actual film. I still don't know whether it's film or not, because I really do like this one. I can't even like bash like Time in the Rani for being pantomime or something like that, because there's this story and there's Eric Roberts as the Master, and you know, you've got
I always dress for the occasion.
It's a great line. You can't doubt it. It's a fantastic line. I think at this point I'll also throw in Scream of the Schalke, because this came out in 2003. I've got this for a future video. I'll definitely do it at some point, because this was made by Cosgrove Hall, and you know, the people who did the first Missing episode animation, which is pretty cool. I've also got a VHS. This is the only VHS I have, because I can't really warrant getting a VHS because I can't play them. I just thought I should at least get one VHS for my collection, so I got An Unearthly Child, and it is really cool having a VHS. I'm not that young in that I don't remember VHSs. I used to have loads of VHSs, so it's really cool. I'm not just like being like, oh, it's cool and vintage, although I kind of am actually. But I did look around for which VHS I wanted to get. I looked at Genesis of the Daleks, I looked at the 5 Doctors, I looked at whatever the first VHS was, which according to this was Revenge of the Cybermen, but that was too expensive, I think, on eBay. So I just thought I'd get this one. It was like £2.50 on eBay, so I was quite happy with this. And An Unearthly Child, it's the first Doctor Who story. Why not get it? also on VHS. There were 2 VHSs of An Unearthly Child, I believe. So I got the earlier one, because why not get the earlier one? This has been out for what, 30 something years, I think? Yeah, this was released in February 1990, so this is over 30 years old. Shall we change the colour of these for New Who? I've changed the lights to yellow because it's New Who, and apparently that means yellow. So, New Who. Interestingly, I see a lot of collection videos on YouTube. A lot of them are solely classic Who, or like a majority New Who. A lot of them don't kind of mishmash both of them, which is exactly what I do. Although I'm aware, I'm sure other people do those, I just haven't seen them on YouTube, okay? The Russell T Davies era, we start with Series 1 on Blu-ray, Series 2 on Blu-ray, Series 3 on Blu-ray, Series 4 on Blu-ray, with a loose disc because it's second-hand, and the collection, the complete specials, I mean. This is beautiful, this design. The reason I said all of those really quickly was because I used to have the Series 1 to 4 DVD box set, which is in terrible condition. This was my pride and joy for years. This was what I watched all of Doctor Who on. This was it. This was me. Plus these, actually, for the specials. But I grow up and I realise I need it to look a little bit better, which is what you don't get on a lot of these. Specifically the second series. The upscale for the second series is not great. The fourth series and the first series are okay in terms of their upscale. The third series upscale is the best thing on this planet. It looks so good for someone who isn't that well tuned for standard definition or HD. For someone like that, they would be hard pressed to say this isn't HD. At first glance, if they showed me, if I didn't know that Series 3 was just filmed on standard definition cameras, I would have said that this was just pure HD. I don't know if my eyes are deceiving me, but whoever upscaled this needs to be paid a lot of money to upscale all of these again. Okay, maybe not again, because then I have to pay more. Obviously, we have the Russell T Davies era here, which is fantastic. Series 1, fantastic. Series 2, Series 3 is great, and Series 4, oh my god, isn't it amazing? Because we all love Donna, don't we? And obviously we have the complete specials here. Now, I want the Steelbook for reasons of the wedding of Sarah Jane Smith. We'll get to later my collection of the Sarah Jane Adventures, but the Steelbook of the complete specials has the wedding of Sarah Jane Smith in HD. Now, Series 3 of the Sarah Jane Adventures, which has that episode, was never released on Blu-ray, but it was filmed in HD. So it's basically a scam that they didn't release it, and I don't have it, and I don't want to spend like £100 and something. It's on my Amazon wish list. So if someone wants to spend like over £100 and get it for me, then that would be great. Other things on my Amazon wish list, off the top of my head, the 2 collection box sets that I don't have. I do want the I will probably buy the Trial of a Time Lord Blu-ray at some point because I need it. I know I've got the 2 DVDs of season 1 of Doctor Who on there. Honestly, off the top of my head, I can't remember. I've got loads of CDs. I've got Torchwood on there. I really want Torchwood on there. I need it for my collection, but I don't have the money, basically. That's basically what I'm saying. Anyway, fantastic. We love Christopher Eccleston. We love David Tennant. They're not released in story individually. They've released obviously those in volumes on DVD and stuff like that. So obviously I'm going to probably go through New Who a lot quicker than I did with Classic Who when you've got all these like individual DVDs and stuff. I mean, obviously I do have some of the collection ones, so I glossed over them quite quickly, but these are all in just series kind of stuff like that. Anyway, next up we have Moffat, or Matt Smith more specifically. Here we have the cheapest steelbook of all of New Who and Classic Who probably. This is like 10 quid, and mine's in terrible condition, and it's not a good steelbook. It kind of looks cool on the outside. On the inside, it's very bland. But Series 5, I love Series 5. Matt Smith is my favourite Doctor. Series 7 is my favourite series. Anyway, aside from, my inferior taste in Doctor Who, which I feel like I've made obvious by now, Series 5 is great. I love Matt Smith. The 11th Hour I think I would say is the best post-regeneration story. Next, we have the annoying Series 6 Blu-ray with the bloody silence on the front. This is so annoying because of this, like, it's just kind of, when you put it in the wall, it kind of and then it's got like a in the wall. I don't even know what I'm saying at this point, but Series 6 is quite a forgettable series, but it has its moments. I really like A Good Man Goes to War. There are a lot of reviews of Doctor Who on YouTube. That's true for like all media, but there are a couple YouTubers who I obviously won't name here, but I feel like they've gone as far as I used to watch them and I used to really like them, but they've kind of gone as far in their reviews to forget that everything is subjective. And yes, there are probably things in the film industry that you should do, and they obviously make things better, like in terms of writing and directing and editing and all that. But just because they've decided to do something different doesn't necessarily mean they've done something wrong. And everything is subjective. And I feel like you kind of get it with Series 6, because some people really like Series 6 and some people really dislike Series 6. But there are some YouTubers who've reviewed stuff like Series 6 and a lot of Chibnall stuff that forget that there are people who still really like those series. And at the end of the day, everything's subjective. And I feel like they sometimes forget that their analysis of something isn't the right answer in a way. There isn't one way of looking at something. I won't lie, I don't really know how to end off this point in the video, so I'll just carry on with saying Series 7 is a good example of what I've just been saying. I love Series 7. Series 7 is my favourite one, and in fact this is why I've got the steelbook of it and none of the other ones, mainly because like obviously I don't really feel the need to spend it on something when the Blu-rays generally, apart from like the specials, generally have the same content on it. But I love Series 7, so I thought I'll get this one. Previously I had it in 2 parts, so I thought it'd be nice to get it on here. Also in the Series 7, not just in the Series 7 but in the steelbooks, I don't particularly fancy how they've done the insides, and also in terms of this one, they've made it so I can't swap them around because they've split Series 7 in 2. I would love to put all the Amy and Rory stuff on the left and all the Clara stuff on the right, but I can't because of the art that they've put behind it, because then it would look stupid. But either way, the art on the steelbook is beautiful on both sides. My favourite story of all of Doctor Who is in here, The Rings of Akaten, and if you don't like it, that's fine. People need to understand that it's fine for people to have different opinions. But in Doctor Who fandom, oh my god, how dare you have an opinion that's different? Oh my god, you don't like Midnight? How bloody dare you? Except it doesn't matter because it's just an opinion. Can we get over this? There are people who love Chibnall's era more than any other. People who love Sacha Dhawan's Master more than any other, which I mean is surprisingly common. I don't even really like Chibnall's era that much, but people need to understand these things. Anyway, next up we have the Day of the Doctor, on 3D Blu-ray. Again, fantastic story. We love the 50th anniversary special in the household here. I mean, it's a fantastic 50th anniversary special. We love David Tennant, we love John Hurt, we love Billy Piper, we love Matt Smith, and we love Jenna Coleman. Finally, in terms of Matt Smith, we have The Time of the Doctor, plus other 11th Doctor Christmas specials, even though I have all of the other Christmas specials in these Blu-rays, so it doesn't really make sense to have them in here either way. But there's also like the one that has all the like the first 10 Christmas specials, I think it is. I wouldn't know where to put that on my shelves. Where would that go? I think it's a good send-off for Matt Smith, my favourite Doctor, as I have mentioned. I do like it, it's nice, we love handles, and the regeneration is great. Could have been done in better ways, and obviously the whole thing with the giving regenerations to the Doctor has been thrown out the window, but we don't talk about that here. This is just a collection video. Nearing the end now, we're into Peter Capaldi. First off, we have Series 8, a divisive series again. As a whole, I do enjoy it. I actually watched Kill the Moon recently, and you know what? Kill the Moon, despite what people say, is actually quite a good story, but that's just my opinion. You can dislike it if you want. The Complete Night series on Blu-ray, again, another divisive one. You get a lot of divisiveness for Series 8 and Series 9 and even Series 10, but as we all know, Capaldi is one of the best Doctors to have ever graced our screens. You get a little Series 9 facts thing in here, but also, interestingly, I got this one quite, not recently, but I think it was this year. This is kind of laid out like the limited edition Blu-ray collection box sets, and also the Sarah Jane Adventures Series 1 to 5 DVD. And I kind of like it actually. I kind of like the plastic foldy thingy. Nearing the end of Peter Capaldi, we have Series 10. This is probably my favourite packaging because they shoved a whole series into this little Blu-ray, and I love that. For some reason, them shoving it into this little thing makes it seem a lot more special than it already is, and it's got that same blue vibe that I love from the season 19 collection box set. And they've shoved all of the discs in here. How many? That's six discs into this little frame, and the artwork is beautiful. I'm not a massive fan of Series 10. I'm not a massive fan of Bill. Love Noddle, but yeah, it's fantastic. I do like it, and obviously you got stuff like the Doctor Falls and stuff like that on here, so that's beautiful. Okay, here we have an interesting one. Twice Upon a Time on Blu-ray, except it's not. It's an imposter. well, it kind of still blew 4K Ultra HD, because this is the only 4K release we've had. I am now frantically looking for, here it is, the Blu-ray that I have. Now, obviously, this Blu-ray came with the slip on it, but recently I acquired this. I can't play the 4K disc because I have nothing to play it on, I think, but I've got it anyway. But I'm not a fan of the black, especially because this is like mostly a blue kind of design, so I do a little bit of stuff and I put this on here, so when it's on the shelf I am doing some sneaky moves and you can't even tell until you take it off and you realise, oh, it's black. In terms of the actual series, that is all I've got. That is everything. I don't, as of yet, have any of the Chibnall Series 11, Series 12, and then obviously eventually Series 13 when that comes out, hopefully at some point, which is funny at this point, but when this video comes out, the release date might have been confirmed. In terms of the extras that I have and all the Blu-rays, that is all I have, and DVDs and stuff like that, that's all I have. However, obviously there are spin-offs. In terms of spin-off material, this is what I'm looking at. I've got Class. I think, honestly, I actually liked Class. I watched it recently and there are some things in there that just aren't good. Objectively, this time, objectively not good. But I do like Class. I do really like Miss Quill. Miss Quill's great, and the first episode where Peter Capaldi comes in is brilliant. And there are some really good moments in this series. Next up, we have the Sarah Jane Adventures Series 1 to 5 on DVD. Got this for my birthday a couple of years ago, and again we've got the kind of the plastic thingies. I mean, there's so many in this one, but yeah, I do really like the Sarah Jane Adventures again, which is why I have this. Elizabeth Sladen will always be one of my favorite people on this planet, and it was obviously really sad. I was so young when she passed, it didn't really hit for me. I do also have the Series 5 Blu-ray because HD is great. I do want the Series 4 Blu-ray, that's on my wish list as well. Just don't really need it at the moment, I don't think. I will probably end up making a video on the Sarah Jane Adventures, let's be honest. K9, yeah, K9, that Australian show, I think it was co-produced in Australia. It's a terrible show. This is only volume 1 of the first series, and there's only one series anyway, but it's not good. Although, surprisingly, this cover actually looks quite good, but the design of K9, no thanks. Yeah, I only got volume 1 because volume 2 is like, I could only find it for like 20 quid, and I just don't really want it. Not really a spin-off, but an adventure in space and time. Fantastic kind of documentary-ish kind of thing, but the way they've done it is brilliant. And David Bradley is obviously great as the first Doctor, as we've seen, or just William Hartnell, as we've seen in Twice Upon a Time and stuff like that. We've got Sacha Dhawan in here, you've got Brian Cox in it, and this is just a brilliant documentary kind of thing. It's a shame they never released it on Blu-ray in the UK, except for in the massive, I think it was the Series 1 to 7 Blu-ray box set, but why would I buy that now? So in terms of DVDs and Blu-rays, that's all of it. I will very quickly go through my CDs. So most of my CDs are just soundtrack, so I can get like the high quality recordings, as high quality as possible. All of them secondhand, except like these two at the bottom, which I'll get to. First off, we have Series 2. Obviously, Murray Gold is a fantastic composer and he's done such a great job with New Who. So Series 2, we got Series 3 after that, obviously. Then we got Series 4, and then I don't have Series 4 specials, or Series 5, or Series 6, or some of the Christmas ones in there. But then we have The Day of the Doctor and The Time of the Doctor, which is, this one's an interesting one because it does have a reversible cover actually, depending on whether you want The Day of the Doctor or The Time of the Doctor to be on the front, which is pretty cool, I think. Then we skip quite a bit and we go for Series 11. I basically just bought the cheapest ones at that time. The ones that I'm missing are on my Amazon wish list. Then we have Torchwood Series 1 to 2 and Torchwood Children of Earth 2, also a great soundtrack. So you've got stuff like Owen's theme on here, which is great. Ben Foster, fantastic man. Beautiful stuff on all of these from Murray Gold and Ben Foster. The Class music, again, I really love the Class music from Blair Moat. Fantastic stuff, honestly. So in terms of soundtracks, that's me done. But I do have 4 audio stories, first of which is Real Time. I bought this because there was a animation webcast. This was, I think, the first ever animation of Doctor Who, I guess, or officially done. So I got this to eventually compare, because they just animated the audiobook, which is pretty cool. It's got Colin Baker in a funky new coat. It's got Yi Ji-so from the movie, which is pretty sick. Next we have Shada. These didn't come in time for me to compare it for the animation video, but but I will probably compare it to the animation webcast when I do a specific video on that Big Finish animation. We also have these two random, I think BBC Audio ones. For some reason I've drawn a line over this one, I'm not entirely sure. I was probably about 8. These are both Audio Go stories. One's from The Observer, one's from The Guardian. You got them free, I guess, in the newspaper. But yeah, I mean, that is all of my collection. There is nothing else to show you. I am now surrounded, I don't even know if you can see down here, but I am surrounded by DVDs and Blu-rays because at some point I got bored getting up and down and just threw them on the sofa behind me. Please let me know what you think of my amazing collection in the comments below. Give this video a dislike if you hate my collection and hate my opinions, because either way it helps the algorithm. But thank you if you made it this far, honestly, well done to you. But I might do an update in the summer of next year or Christmas next year, sometime around then. I do have quite a few plans for videos I'm going to be making. This video I'm pre-filming so I can edit it while I'm starting uni. Thank you if you made it this far, really appreciate it. I'm sure there'll be something that I'm forgetting to say. I was going to change this back to blue because I realised you can't actually see it that well when it's yellow. Anyway, enough of that. Thank you again, and I guess I'm Sam, and I'll see you next time.